Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again, another one. Too busy. I gotta get this trunk floor done, so stick around. Alright, back on Crusty. In the last video, I cut off these here mounts and re-drilled them, got them all straightened away, and I made these two trunk drop-offs, put some beads and everything in them, bent over the top lip, got a nice little raised edge and everything on them. All that's been in the last video. Had to put a lip on the back side here, welded it all up. Next thing I got to do now is I got to close in these top sections here on both sides. Over here, I'm putting a battery. I'm going to reinforce it a little bit different, so I still got to make the panel on top anyway, so I'll go ahead and I'll make this panel here and I'll make this panel here as well. But now, in order to make this here, again, I'm going to have to make templates, okay? Because of this up here, I got to come across, step in. This here's got a curved edge coming out across here. Then I got to come around the roll cage, and this is not a 90 degree here, so this has to be cut over at an angle here. So I'll do the same thing with templates like I did down here. I'm going to concentrate on this section up here and have it come back here. I'm not going to worry about this back here right yet. And I'll probably cut a piece of cardboard this big here, get it fitting so it slides up inside there. And then I'll make a piece for the back and tape two of them together. I measured up the width. The width from where I want to have it to here is about 10 inches. Because I'm not going to go cover the entire rail in the middle of it. I'm going to come over pretty well in the middle of it. And then the distance from the back of the body up inside that little corner section is about 21 inches. This here is a little over 22, or it's 22 inches. So I turn around, I just cut it off at 10 inches wide. And then I cut off a 10-inch piece on the top side. I'm going to start with that and get that fitting up in the front section first. So I got the piece that's 10 inches, and I'm just going to lay it in place. I'm going to line it up, keep it square on this side over here. Wherever it falls, it falls. Just hook them back here, but that's fine. What I want to do is I want to do a rough measurement on this here. This is going to tuck in here, so I'm going to cut this back this way here. And that will be from that point in. Let me get the measuring tape. So I marks that there. That should bring me into there. So I'll just mark that back to there. That can be the point there. Then I'll cut it off. Just looking down here. And that will go across there like so. And this here roughly will be doing this type of thing. I'll just start trimming it to fit in there now. I'll work it till I get it so I'm happy where it's fitting in there. So I got it roughed in there. I got this here now. I'm going to turn around and measure that. I got that measurement in there, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here and just start measuring it, marking it, marking it, marking it, marking it. It'd be nice if I had a pencil or something to do it with. But I got this, so I'll make do what I got. I'll mark that along there to get a nice edge on it. I can do what I got. There's tools for this, but I don't have it. I'll just connect the dots now and cut that out. As you can see, you can still see the dots up there. I got it all trimmed up. Had to trim it a few times to get it fitting in there nice. One mistake I made was up here in this corner. I got a piece of cardboard here and I'm just going to tape that on there. Cut it off too long. That's it. All you can do is make mistakes. I'm human, okay? Don't sue me for that one. So I'll get that taped on there now, and that piece there will be done, and then I'll start making the back section. So I played around with it, marked it and cut it, marked it and cut it. I got the little notch cut out of it here, and it's curved over this way here. I got a cut around the roll cage here. It was just like, you know, mark it a bit, trim it, mark it, trim it. And so now I got that all done. I can take the other piece and put it where it's supposed to go and tape two of them together. And there you have it, a template made for this side here. Pleased with that. Now what I'll end up doing here now, I'll put a step bead along here. I'll put a step bead along here, and I'll probably put a bead down through the middle of this here. Probably just a one. Probably what I'm going to do. I was going to put 2 there, but there's going to be a bead out here and a bead in here, so it might be too much. So I might just put 1 right down through the middle of that there, and that'll be good for that. And I turned around then, I took it, and it's the same as the side panel. I got some adjustments over here to do. I can use this. It's just short on the end up here. I can use this template for both sides though. Now that I got that done, I can go over now and transfer that over onto steel. So I got it all drawn out there now. Now one thing here is I got to have a lip on the back side here, and then there's going to be a lip up here. This one here is straightforward. I'm going to do that, clamp it onto the wheel well, because that's going to be on an angle as well. This one back here, you can think, well, maybe I can get away with just adding 1 inch to this and bend it over. There is a slight curvature in it. I'm also dealing with a step in it where the plating system's on the back of the car. Now, the more I think about it, I'm not going to be able to fit this in the car if I leave the lip on it. I'm going to have to bend it over and fit it in place. When I do that, there's going to be troubles in the bead roller, okay? So I'm opting to leave it alone, and I'll weld a piece on the end of it later to give me the tab to weld on to the back side there. I had to do some thinking about that, because I'm trying to think steps ahead. What am I going to run into? What have I got to do? And the biggest thing I find is that this is just going to make more work for me, and it'd be a lot easier for me just to bend up a little piece that I can just clamp on the back of it, and I can actually weld it on and get a real nice clean edge right along this here, instead of having it all wrinkled up and whatnot, right? So I got it all drawn out here now. I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. So I got it trimmed out, and I went and done a quick test fit, and I had to trim off a little bit just to make it fit nice. So I'll show you what it looks like. You see where it fits up nice along there, around the edge, in and right there. Nice tight fit around that there. Now there is a bit of light down through here. You're always going to get that because of the actual roll cage. This will be seam sealed, okay? One thing about gaps on a production car, I noticed when I strip apart cars, have them blasted and everything, and they come back and all the factory undercoating or the seam sealer's gone up them, you will find like massive holes in some places, and you know, gaps and stuff like that, and they use seam sealer to fill it up. So it's not like everything fit perfect in a production car either, right? So I don't mind that little gap there. So now that I got that done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the actual template to fit this edge up here. I tried playing with it a bit, don't like it. It's not moving the way I want to, so I'm going to go ahead and just make it to fit what is there. So I'm going to take the upper section apart and just slide it up a bit, trim it up a bit better, and then tape it back on again. And as you can see, I got to take it apart. I just cut the tape, and you can see how much overlap I got. So I got lots of room there to move the panel forward. So I'm going to take this piece now, go over and fit it into the car and trim it up so it fits nicer. And then I'll just turn around, I'll lay this one back in place again. I'll tape 2 of them together again. As you can see, there's a bit of a gap right here, and it's tight there, and it's tight there, and it's tight here. So what I'm going to do now is I'll trim this up along here so that it goes back. So this here goes tight here, and I'll just take the shape that it needs to be. There I have it. I had a little tiny bit to the bottom here. Up here, I stretched it about that much, and I just kept trimming it till it fit up there. And I just cut it back, and you can see now roughly where it was, because that's the end of the tape mark there. You can see when after cutting into the tape up here. So, and then I retaped it back together again. I'm ready now to transfer that over on the steel. And I marked it out, I cut it out, and it fell right in there. Fit right nice. Everything is there, fits perfect. I'm happy where it's too. Now that's ready for bead rolling, whatever I'm going to do with it. And I got the other side done. Now, in the last video, I turned around and made the trunk drop-offs, and I cut off these brackets. Some of you guys were pretty smart. I missed out on this. I intend to drop the gas tank into the floor here. When I drops the gas tank into the floor, I'm not going to get them bolts out. So I got to go this way with the bolts. I try to put everything on the outside, just like, you know, trying to keep everything the same way. But that makes a lot of sense. So I overlooked that. Some of you guys were right on key to notice that, so greatly appreciate reminding me. So I never end up welding all this in, had to cut all that out later on. That would have been funny, wouldn't it? Weld it all up, have it all done, couldn't get the shackle out of it. Oh my. I'm going to swap them around now and have it so the bolts goes this way, and then I can start figuring out what I'm going to do for beads. So I went ahead and changed them around. I got 2 of them done and them done. And I said I'm going to go ahead and do the spring as well. because I don't know how far down the gas tank is going to go, and I can tell you, if I get all that put in place and drops the gas tank right down, I'll run into a problem there too, so I figured I'd change that over. And besides, I like having all the bolts going in the same direction every time I does it, so I got them done. Now, back to the panels. So now, I'm back to the panels here, and this side here, the battery box is going to go here, okay? Now, I'm not going to drop it into the floor because someone talked about dropping it through the rails and, you know, don't do that, bolt it right to the flat floor. That's my plan. The problem you got if you cut a hole in the floor is you're only limited to a certain size battery then, or you cut a great big hole in there, and it just don't look right. I'm not going to cut the floor. All I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up so that it'll have strength there for a battery to actually bolt down through it all, and I'll turn around and the battery box will mount on top of this here if I make one up or whatever. Some talked about mounting it so it mounts to the cage. I'm going to try to stay clear of that. I don't like welding too much stuff onto roll cages and whatnot. I'm just going to have it back there. I like to get it back as far as I can, and it's always nice to have the weight in the back of a car as high as you can in the back of the car. So I just got to sit down now and play around with the idea, just figure out what I'm going to do here in the way of a structure to give this strength. Playing around, I got a battery laid in place here now. It's a fairly big battery. Problem I got is where this shackle mount is mounted to. I can't run nothing out across there on the other side because I want to weld it to the frame rail here. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to weld something on the other side of the frame rail here to go across, and then have to come all the way up here and weld something across there and then run a diagonal back through here. I'll think about this, and when I get the plan together, I'll let you guys know. So I've been playing around with some ideas, and I'm going to experiment here now. What I want to do is I want to run a brace across here. That's going to weld onto the sides here, weld onto the sides over here. Another brace back here that'll run across here. That'll weld on the sides here and weld on the sides here, and then one up the middle. That's what I got in my head there. That way the battery hole can go anywhere in the middle there to hold down, and these will support the middle brace, right? I played around with the idea of using the bead roller and making something like this here, and then just cutting it off and using that as a brace, but it's not a deep enough bead for what I'm looking for right there. I like to get a bit more strength than that. The problem I got when I'm using the bead roller on this here is what's going to end up happening is I'm going to end up warping stuff up. So this here panel is not going to really sit flat. The more I thought about it, I said, you know, yeah, it's all going to go wonky on me if I go to try to make it with this. And it really doesn't have that really strong edge on it, right? That I'm after. Now, if you've been following my channel a long time, I went and done the floors in a Toyota pickup truck a couple of years ago. And what I did is I bent up the ribs using the brake, and I turned around and just bent them up. This is the idea I got in my head. I'm going to use that same technique to make a set of ribs. What I did is I took measurements to figure out where I wanted my bends and how wide I wanted it. I got this piece cut out because I want a large piece that I can clamp into the brake, and I can go ahead and make one, then I can go ahead and make the second one and make the third one. I got to make 3 of these is what I got to make up. I made this little template, and what it is, this is a marking of each bend. Okay, so that way I could duplicate it from down here, and you can see I'm using a grinder and marking it. I'm not using pins or markers or anything like that. That's my bend there, 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 and I will cut it off there, okay? So I'm left with a flange on either side with a raised center in it, okay? And this is just a random length I called out. I figured there's got to be no more than 15 inches long. I could trim it off after the fact. So I went ahead and I said, I'll just soon make these bigger, and I can cut them down, then just try to make them just the right size, and realize I should have made them a little tiny bit bigger. All I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go over in the brake, and I'm going to start bending this up. I'm going to bend them about 45 degrees on each individual bend. That's all I'm going to do until I'm left with a raised section in the middle. It'll come over, it'll step up, go over, and it'll step down and go over. So let's see how this works out. So now all I'm doing is I'm just lining up each one of the little slots that I got there on the bracket itself. All I'm going to do now is just bend that up at a 45 degree. Knock over the hank here while I'm at it. What I'll do now is each time I bend, turns it over and bends it, I'll have to flip it each time to bend it. This is what I'm concerned about, is how this is going to turn out on each bend. Letting that back down again. Everybody knows that's supposed to be left flat. I'm also wanting to put a bead in the floor pan, and I want the floor pan bead to fall inside this. So. At the middle, so I don't need to do the middle. Okay. Now watch that. Yeah. Gotta keep an eye on that. First mistake I made. So here's what I come up with. This is a very, very large step, much the same as this here. Now, here's what I'm after. When I flip this upside down, this is the way this will be in the car. This will be down underneath the car. I'll be able to put a bead, and this here bead will fit down inside this slot, okay? So that there will be down inside of it, and this will be flat and be welded along here, right? So this is the idea I got in my head. I'm pretty pleased with that. What plan is to have one going down and have two going across this way here that are going to have ends on that are going to plug weld on, and this is going to be welded. It's going to be like an eye-shaped unit. So I'm going to go ahead now and repeat the same process all over again. The mistake I made is I marked the middle, okay? And in this here, because I want to find the middle of all this here, so I can actually measure out a ½ inch on either side of it. But I don't put a bend in that. This here is supposed to be an inch along the bottom side, and then the other bends. But I'll repeat the same process again on all the rest of them. I'm not going to change nothing now because it'll only confuse myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, mark the rest of these here now, and go ahead and bend these up. So that way I'll have the three of these all bent the same. That way I can look at the three of them next to each other, make sure that they all looks uniform and it looks good. So I'll get them all marked out and bent up. Some of you guys might be wondering why I'm doing the cut slots in these here. It's very simple, okay? I gotta make a bend here, gotta flip it over, bend the other side. When I flip it over to bend the other side, I got the slots on this side as well. That's the reason why I done it, so I know that my measurement on the other side is the same as on this side here, and you can see it over here as well, right? So I'll always have my point, no matter if it's this way or flips it over and it's this way. I got marks. It's always there. I haven't got to worry about it. That's the reason why I went and put the little slots in them. I'll go ahead now and bend that one up. All I'm using is a scribe and that little template. That there is the distance I got, and I'm just scribing. I'm sticking in the little slots and pulling out from it. That way I got the same marks each time. And when I flip it over, I don't like turn it around this way here. I'll take this here, and when I'll grab it, I'll flip it over this way here to do this side up here. So that way, if there's any discrepancy in the slots, if I turn it over the opposite way, at least this way here, they're staying the same, whether I do it here or I do it here, right? Because if I flip them over here, it might be off a small bit, right? So I got them marked. I'll do another one. So there you have the three of them bent up. This one here is a little bit sharper than this one here. I was learning as I was bending them. I was noticing that I used to bend them on a 45, but I had to bend them a little bit farther than 45 in order to get the actual bend to come back to 45. Because when I flipped it over and done the second bend, it kind of straightened out the roll again. So I found that these two here are a little bit different than this one here. This one's sharper, okay? This one's a little bit higher than this one, but I can flatten it out. But you can see what I had down there, and you can see the height of them. I'm going to be pleased with that. There'll be lots of strength in that there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to cut these off on these lines here, and then I'll have three separate pieces. As you can see, I got three of them cut off. Top one here is a little bit different than the bottom two. That one there's a little bit different than them two. Them two there are really good together. Right? Same with this side here. Put two of them together. Fits good. This one here on the other hand, that one there needs a bit of work. What it is this bend is not sharp enough here, and this bend here is not sharp enough. So I'm going to go over the brake now and bend that up a bit more and make it so it's the same as the other two. So here's where I'm to. I'm after cutting them off the length so they fit between the rail and the bottom of that over there. And I'm after narrowing them up. I'm after cutting about a quarter of an inch off either side. I just found they were a bit bulky looking. And I got one mounted up there, and I had to cut them down to clear the actual bracket here, okay? So now I got running them two. I'm going to run another one down the center there. I'm going to bring it over on the bench and do that. I'm going to measure from here to here now, and then go over and set it up on the bench, so then I'll know that this is the length it's got to be. I got these here positioned on the bench. They're 16.5 inches apart, same as in the car. I've done next right here to make sure that they're a square. Now I lay the other piece on top of it. I'm trimming it up, so this here will lay flush on the table as well, and it'll butt into this here. So I got to do some trimming here now to get this cut back right. But you can see I got it roughed in there, and I'll just slowly, I'm not going to take it all off it, because I want to have this here cut off here, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to let it overlap a small bit, and I'll just start trimming this up bit by bit until I can see what's going on. When I get it down there, I'll just fine tune it as I'm going. I won't rush into it, right? So I'll just get this trimmed up here now. Here's my first trim. My whole plan is I don't tend to cut these here. I'll leave these like they are, and I'm trying to get this here to fit in here like a puzzle. Line up here, so I'll run a weld in along here, and like that there, and weld it up, and then dress that section there, and I can weld it from the back side as well. That'll give it strength. I don't want to go trying to do like a butt weld here, because it could be pretty tangly trying to get all this here to fit right, and a bit messy. And I think this will be a lot cleaner, and this here won't distort this piece here. This side's still a little bit long, so I'm going to go ahead now, trim off this up here, trim this off, come back here and start trimming this off here, so I get this to lay down into this here. And there I got it all fitting in place. All I got to do is clean it all up now and run a bead of welding all along there. Same with over here, got all that done. I'm happy with that. A lot of work for such a simple little project, right? It would have been a lot easier to do just a straight square stock, but I want to have this so when you look up underneath the back of the car, you see something that looks original. Because I've looked at a few race cars, and when you get on the bottom side of them, I don't know what it is. They looks like they're just pieced together with 2x4s. No one really pays attention to the bottom side of a car in a lot of race cars. It's mostly the top side as they're putting it together. But I try to go a little extra mile, just try to be a little bit different. And boy, am I different. I'm going to go ahead and get all this cleaned up now, so I can get this welded on. So I got it all cleaned up, and I got the magnet put on it so I keep these heights here the same. I'm going to go ahead down and go ahead and tack weld all that in place there now. So that's held in place, and then I'll go on and do the other one. So I got them all tacked in place. I went over and done a test fit. Works perfect. So I'm going to go ahead now, get this all welded up. I got this all welded up here now. I'm going to let this cool off. While I'm waiting for that, I'm going to come over here. And I got the two panels here, one there and the other one here. I got to put beads down through the sides of them here and a bead up through the middle here. So I'm going to mark them out and get them ready to so I can put a bead in them. I'm going to wait on the middle one until I get this bracket put in, because I'm going to judge it off of that, because I want that bead there to fall into that bead, but I can get the outside ones done. So I got the two outer ones done on both of these here now. Let's get them bead rollers. As you can see, I got both of them done. Got the bead now running down through them. Every time you put a bead in a piece of metal, it gives it strength, okay? Now I want to put another one down through here, the boxed off one with the head, the ends and everything on it, but I'm going to wait on that till I get the other piece grinded up and cleaned up. So let's do a quick test fit, see what these look like. Adds a bit of strength, a bit of style to the outside edge, got that nice little roll edge off the back side there. So now they're ready till I can decide on where this bead goes. So I'm going to go back over now and finish grinding up that brace. I'm here now, grind it off, and I'm going back in little spots, welding them, regrind them again. Nothing fancy, no fancy tools. This is the extent of what I'm using here. 2 grinders. I got a large pad here that I put on it for doing the large flat areas, and I put a small pad on it for doing the small areas out here, and use the die grinder on the inside edges here, and that'll be it. So I'm going to go ahead now and finish that off. So I got it all grinded up, looks the part. Coming in through there, got all that done. I've have to re-weld it a couple of times and grind it off a few times. Now that I got this done here now, I'm going to flip this over because I got a bead that's going to run through here. I'm going to remove this section here, just grind it all off, and give this section here and here all cleaned up. So I got it all cleaned up in here, grind it off. What I'm doing here now is I'm fitting it in place. You can see it clears up here, clears on this piece here. What I got to do now is I got to step up this entire panel, got to come up a small bit. So I got to mark here and here on the ends so I can actually step it on that here. So I went ahead and I marked them right here. Okay, I got them marked. Yeah. And what I got to do is just got to come over and step down and go over. Now I could probably fool around trying to put through the bead roll. It's going to be hard to do that. But what I'm going to do here now is just going to clamp it into the vise and tap it so that actually this here steps down. Now I have it marked here, and it won't fit in the vise the way I want to put it in there. I got to do it up backwards. Here's what I got to do. So I'm going to clamp it, line up the line on the back. Right there. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to tap this section up. And that's what you end up, a little step like that. You flip it over on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead now and get all the rest of them done. There's the little steps. Now I can go over now and start fitting this in place. I want to clean up the ends of it here because that got to be welded on. I'll clean up the chassis rail. I'll clean it up here because I got to put a couple spot welds in here. I'll clean up all this upper edge here, because that's what I'm going to be putting spot welds to. We're not quite sure where we're going to be at, so I'm just going to clean the works of it up. And we can start installing this piece. Here's what I got done. I got it put up in place, and I marked the locations where it was going to go. And then I drilled out little plug weld holes. And now I got it clamped in place, and I'll go ahead and I'll plug weld it on there and there. And then I'll come over here, and I'm going to weld the bottom side here on just this bottom lower section of it. Not going to weld the tab, because what I have to do over here is I got to have this up a small bit higher than the rail, because where I put the step in the panel, this here has to come up a bit higher. So I'm just going to weld it down along here and just leave this like it is, because then I'll have the same finished edge on both sides. So I got them all grinded off and welded on. Right? So they're all solid there now. What I done then is I took the marker and I marked right here how far back I can go. Up here, I can mark how forward. Then I went and took the ruler and just laid it down into the actual relief itself and marked it up here on the wheel tub. And I marked it back here on the body. It's hard to see because black marker on black, but I can see it there. And then now when I can take this out, I can lay this in place. Now I can go up here and I can see where my marks are to. There, there, and there, and then back here. I can see my two marks right here and here. And I can actually figure out where my bead's going to go. So I'm going to go ahead now and mark them out. And then I'll take that and I'll duplicate it over onto this one here. I'm going to get the two beads put in that. So I measured it here, marked it, marked it here, marked it on the ends, marked it on the ends here, and then I turn around and I drew out the lines through the middle of it there. And then I come over here with a square, and I come over here with a square. I measure the distance here, and put it on here, measure the distance here, put it on here, and just duplicated it onto this one here, okay? I measured the overall length, and then I measured the overall length, and I marked it out. Now that I got these done, I'm just going to go ahead and get the beads put in them, because you've after seen that, a bit of that now. I've been doing a lot of that, so I got that done. Because next thing on the agenda is I got to cap the ends of this here. I got to make pieces to cap the ends of it, so I'm going to go ahead now and get them beads ran. So I got 2 of them done. It's amazing how strong they are. How strong they make the panel. A few beads in it. I got them done. Now I got to cap the ends. So I'm here now, and all I'm doing here now is I'm turning around. I bent up a piece of metal to take the shape of the back of the car, and I clamped it in place. I got enough of it hanging down underneath the car, the back of it, so I can spot weld it to the car itself, and I got enough hanging up over the top of it that when I put the panel in place, I got something to weld to on the top side here. I got another piece made up here that's going to go in here, and I'll do the same process in here as well. I'll clamp that on down bottom, then I'll start fitting the panel in. I'll just tack weld it across here, take the whole thing out, and then I'll trim it all up. I'm going to go ahead and get that clamped in place and get the panel fitting. I have that strip clamped down to the bottom side here and here on the inside there. Then when I turn around and I fit this in place, and I grind to fit it, because the metal is there on both sides, it's going to interfere with it. So I trimmed it off and everything got it all fit in there. So now you can see sticking up a bit down here. And then back in here, I got lots here to weld to. So I'm going to go ahead now, just tack weld it across there. Tack weld it across there. And then I'll have my 2 lips in place and on the right angle. Got tack welded on there. And tack welded on there. That's usually what people ends up doing. They'll put the panel in and they'll weld it across like that there. And it just don't look nice. I want a nice uniform seam along there. So I'm going to take this out now, and then I can weld the back side here. And weld the back side here, and I can grind all that off and cut it off and dress it all up. So here's what you're left with. I have lots of material on the inside. I'll only need about 3/4 of an inch there. Same with back here, 3/4 of an inch. And I got all my shapes, the angle that it's supposed to be on, right there, even the back side. If it had an angle on it, do have a slight angle. Nothing serious, but I got the little step there. That was the biggest thing, reason why I couldn't bend this over. It's because of the little step in the plating system, and I want to be able to weld to it, but I want it to step in, look nice. So I'm going to go ahead now, come in here, weld it across there, weld it across there. So, I'm after tack weld that across there, then I flipped it over, and I welded it on the inside there, and I welded it on the inside there. Then I trimmed it off both ends. Then I turned around and come out here then, and I welded this across here, and then grinded here flush. I welded along here, grinded it off here, grinded off here flush. One little thing that I done is here on the side, this distance here, this section here has nothing to rest on, okay? It's going to be spot welded here and spot welded here, but there's going to be nothing along here. Now, anytime I used to see panels in a car, when you take them out and they had sections that were like this here, there was always a little small lip on it. So I went ahead and put a little lip on it, as you can see there. That'll give that the strength to go from there. So that won't be flimsy in that area there. It's got strength there now. My spot weld there, my spot weld there will be fine. Okay, because that's all going to be seam sealed along there anyway. I went over and I test fitted in the car. Fits really nice. So then I went and marked it here on the back side from underneath that I can actually put the spot welds to go along here and along here for that panel to go into, so I can drill them out. And I also marked the front here so I can actually cut off the wheel well and size that up so I can get the spot welds put on that. As you can see over here, I have a lot of material here. I got to come down about an inch or so and just cut it off straight across there. That's what I ended up doing. I noticed that over here on this end here, it fits perfect, and then it fades out, so I got to trim that off down there, and then I can put plug welds in there so I can weld it from in the wheel well. Back here, I was going to weld it from out here, because I'm going to have to do that across the back here. But for them end panels there, I looked underneath and I should be able to weld them in through down there, because I got to weld this onto here anyway, on this backside piece. So I'm going to go ahead now, get that trimmed off and get everything ready to plug weld it to get it put in. So here's where I'm to. I got all the plug welds marked out, drilled out. Got the end here all done. Okay, I got over in the car done. This is all ready to install here now. Right here I had to put a little step. You see me do that before in the vise. Clamp it in the vise, hit it with that, use an hammer, and just put a little relief step on it, because that's where the back panel comes down the car and steps forward. I got holes drilled in the wheel well down there coming in through, so that'll be plug welded on in there. You can see where the little step is to there, and I cleaned off all the spots where the spot welds were to. But what I'm going to do in here now, because this is a valley and whatnot, I'm going to put some painting in along here. I can get that painted. So, but I'm going to do one more test fit. There it is in place. You see where it lines up on the panel below it. I'll push down on that and up along the front there. And you can see where the little step is to right here. So that panel there now fits nice there. And it actually dropped that down a small bit, as you can see in there. I thought it was going uphill a bit, and that was the reason for it, because of that step. Yep, so now that that's done, I'm going to paint inside there and go grab some lunch. So when I can come back, I can weld this in. That's good enough for that. So I've gone ahead and I got it all grinded off. It really isn't that bad, okay? I counted, I think there was 57 plug welds I had to put in this panel here alone. And it's got a real nice seam up in now. The way it fits up there, the way it fits back here. Right. Nice and clean, all the way through it. So now I went ahead and I started on the other side. I got the panel all ready to go in. I got the pieces welded in it here on either end. Same process as I did before. You can see up here I got to turn around. I got all the holes and everything put in it. I trimmed it off. Got all that done. So I'm ready now to weld that one in. Same as before. I haven't got as many plug welds put in this one here, so this is going to be a quick one. And we'll get this section finished. You can see in here, it all lines up. I'll just clamp that together and weld that in there, and you can see up in there. Zoom in. You can see it on there at all. Spot weld that across there. So I'm going to go ahead now, get all this done. And this side will be finished too. The grinders won't fit in there that way. What I do then is I flips the pan upside down. It turns the grinder this way and uses it that way. Here you have the second side done. You can look at it, nice seam up front, nice seam going down through there, nice overlap with that roll, right? That'll be the seam. Now you seam seal that up there. Got the nice bead in the middle, goes around the roll cage nice and tight. You can actually just now put a bit of seam seal around the side here because there's nothing welded onto that there. That'll be fine there to seam seal that. And in behind there, the same thing, right? Going up, got a little step in it, tucks into the corner there, put the little lip on it, so it went in there in the corner. Well, that's two of them done. This side here is done as well. Let's have a look at that brace from the bottom. Now, it's going to have to be cleaned up and sanded and whatnot, but you can see it there now, nice fit the way it goes down through there. Right? It's nice and strong there now. The battery tray now can actually mount to this here. You see how tidy all this stuff is up here now. I'll put a little seam sealer across that because it works on the rear panel there. And that'll be best kind. Nice sharp crisp edges up here in the top corner. Got this nice drop off coming down here now. Nice lip off the edge there. Goes up and mounts into the side of the bar. You can see the hanger there now, where that goes. The little lip up in the inside corner there. And that's the lip there. Where's my spot welded on? And this is the driver's side. More the same. Nice seam up along there. Right, see the little lip up inside there. And that's another piece of the puzzle completed. I got them done now. That's all finished up, nice and solid. Right. There's no tinny metal or anything. That one's really solid. Okay, they all supported and everything for a battery. That's another thing I'll look after. Now, the next thing I'll be going into now is getting the gas tank mounted. I want to stay at this and get this done, like I said. So I got the trunk drop-offs done, and now I got the two outer sections of the trunk floor done. So it's been a lot of little details and everything there, and I had to make up this brace and everything over here, and I walked you all through that. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave this one here. I'm going to save this one here. I'm going to finish all this one off last. I got to run upstairs and get the gas tank and a few other bits and pieces that I need to finish this car off. So I'm going to leave this one here. I hope the tips were good. And until next time.